Be aware, we're about to broadcast. Be aware. Okay, Kelsey, it's all yours.
Awesome. Well, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday. This is the LGBTQIA plus Intersectional Rights Task Force. We were just, if you're watching this and you're affected by the fire, hope you are safe. We are going to go ahead and start with some welcome and introductions. This works in our popcorn style, so share your name. If you would like to share the ward that you live in, pronouns if you would like, and your role. My name is, and then pick someone else. My name is Kelsey Murray. I use she, her pronouns. I am the chair of this task force and the vice chair of the commission, and I live in Ward 4, and I'm going to popcorn to Robert.
Thank you, Kelsey. My name is Robert Marshall. I am a guest today on the task force. I work for the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency, and I'm going to pass it to Joaquin.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I am Joaquin. I am a member of the commission and a guest tonight, not a member of this task force. And maybe that'll change, Kelsey. Maybe. At any rate, I'm a guest tonight. Happy to be here. I'm a resident of Ward 8. And Gretchen, who are you?
Very good. Gretchen Bennett, staff liaison to the Human Rights Commission, and use she, her pronouns.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Happy to have two wonderful guests hanging out with us tonight. We do not have quorum, so we won't be voting on anything, but we have some discussion items. So we'll move into public comments. Gretchen, did you receive any?
I haven't received any recently, but I did forward, I think, to the task force an email received from from Sarah Vick, Ms. Sarah Vick, and so I sent that over. I can also provide a quick update on their situation. The party with which we're assisting in a discussion with had some concerns about repeating past approaches that have already been tried, and had a pathway that would be cost prohibitive for us to follow. And so I'm not seeing a path to be able to continue in the plan as discussed. But I've reached out to talk about that and haven't heard back yet. So it's still kind of in the works, but at the moment, I'm not seeing the original idea developed. And for those of you who are just joining us, we've received a concern and have been doing a bit of shuttle diplomacy kind of back and forth to try to find a way to help assist with the situation. But so stay tuned. It's not quite resolved yet. I'd like to find a way to help and resolve, but we don't have an upcoming meeting or anything like that scheduled at this time.
Okay, well, thank you for that update. Hopefully, I think Sarah came to us with her complaint 2 meetings ago. Is that correct?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I'd have to look.
Okay, so if you're interested in kind of learning more about that, check out the meeting 2 months ago. But hopefully we can kind of get that resolved. Okay, any public comments here before we move on? Okay, awesome. So now we are moving into talking about the planning and the event for Transgender Day of Remembrance. Reminder, that is on November 20th. That is a Monday. Gretchen, have you heard from any location, or are you connected with CCTV? No, that's
We did.
incorrect.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yay.
Yeah, you're
Um,
right. I think we had been wondering if we could do an alternative location, and my task was to see what the specs might be from the standpoint of CC Media. I can report on that if you like.
Yeah, if they so I can report on what you emailed me. So they had filmed it last year, and they had received some feedback from folks, specifically from trans folks, about, they did like a quick pan at the end of the audience, and some folks were concerned about that. So it was communicated to us. So we're going to be really mindful about making sure that the camera is just on the stage. So just speakers for the event, and no pans of the audience. So we're going to communicate that to folks to hopefully ease some minds and protect some safety, but also make sure that that happens during the event. But Gretchen, do you have kind of updates with them about like location or anything else?
Sure. So building on that, Kelsey, thank you. It would be important to help pick a location where that is doable, where the cameras can just focus on the stage, and it might help people to not have a lot of them either. They talked about reducing to 1 or 2 cameras, which should also be doable if to just focus on the stage. And so, for example, I know we talked about, would Willamette University be an idea? And there's some locations there that it sounds like would be a good idea. Like they asked about something within the Institute for Continued Learning, maybe at the Tokyo International piece. And then, but they said some of the venues have more of a horseshoe style, and that might be more difficult to achieve the objective that we talked about. So it'd be important to select a location that really does have more of a stage format. They said that Laux is the easiest because it's been wired precisely for them. So a return to Laux Auditorium is the easiest, but they have done things successfully at Willamette. And then they gave me several specific specifications to pay attention to. And so I've got like 4 technical specifications that we'd want to pay attention to. So if the group would like for me or someone to explore Willamette, I would just, when I talk with them, share those technical specs to see if that lines up with the space, or if you just want to go with Laux, or if there's a different location. That's for the group's discussion.
I have a question. Why is Laux not on the table? Is it because it's already rented out for that evening, or?
It's
Oh.
on the table. We were just kind of talking about like what is the most accessible location, and I thought of Willamette because I think we could get a lot of student support there, which would be interesting. But Laux is definitely in the conversation. I think.
Are there a lot of students on campus the few days before Thanksgiving?
Yes. So Willamette has classes that Monday and that Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So is a possibility. But I think thinking about like spaces at Willamette, I know the Tokyo International University areas are just large classroom spaces and have steps. So, and it's not super accessible. I think if we had it on Willamette, I think probably Smith Music or Smith Auditorium, their like music hall, would probably be best, but they may not be open. But we can maybe check with Laux and them. What are folks' thoughts?
Is Smith the main one, the main performance hall?
Yeah,
it's quite large, which isn't a bad thing. But I think one of the nice things about Laux is that it does feel more intimate to me. It's a lot more of a, that makes sense. It's like a lot closer to the stage. It's just, I don't have an opinion either way, but just
Yeah.
things to think about.
I'm more than fine. Do we want to, let's see. Do we want to just go ahead and move forward with Laux? As the only committee member here. Well, yeah, what are y'all's, like, you cool with Laux?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with that.
Robert?
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that idea. The other thing that I think about is parking as well. And, with it being right there, there is that parking structure. So it does kind of make the convenience of parking a little easier. I worry about, if we get onto, like the college campus, we start losing some of those parking spaces. It starts getting a little confusing for folks and everything to try to, find out where they're going. I think Laux is kind of just like everybody knows. And if they don't, like, people kind of know where the library is, then they can easily kind of find their way to it. So.
That's actually really true. There is no parking near the auditorium on Alliance campus. It's a walk or a stroll or a roll either way.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I used to live at Willamette, so I just.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time there myself, and I use a wheelchair, and I kind of forget about that, but that's definitely very true. Yeah.
Yes, and the parking lot closest is pretty small, so that's a good point. Okay, so Gretchen, let's move forward with Laux.
Sounds good. I will move to reserve and we will go from there. I'll holler back if there's any kind of issue, but I don't foresee one.
Cool, thank you. So let's see, we talked about this during the commission meeting, but we are looking for speakers. Gretchen, I have 2 confirmed speakers. Folks, one person who did it last year, and then Joaquin. So I've emailed our previous speakers, but if anyone knows someone who would be interested in, when I say speakers, I mean readers, in reading the names of those who lost their lives to anti-trans violence, that would be awesome. You can send them to Gretchen or email me if you have my email. So yes, we're looking for readers. And I have been working on the slideshow. It has been updated for all the names that have been submitted so far, but they'll continue to be updated. So I'll update the slideshow as needed. And one thing I wanted to bring to this group was we got some feedback or concerns about the presence of police last year. There were kind of two pieces of feedback that we got. We got folks who appreciated the presence of the police because last year it was the day of the Q nightclub shooting in Colorado Springs. Some folks felt safer with the police presence, but at the same time, some folks felt unsafe with the police presence. So I wanted to bring this to this group to talk about, like, what do we think? Are there ideas that we can look at to kind of compromise between that, or if there are just like strong thoughts or opinions?
Does the library have non-uniform security?
Yeah, Gretchen, were the police uniformed last year?
I think that they were at our request.
Okay.
They could be ununiformed as well. And yes, the library does have security. However, the library is closed on Mondays, and so they wouldn't be normally working on that day. There may be an expense to incur to have security that I'm not sure if we'd have the budget to be able to cover.
Okay, so how do people feel about maybe requesting that SPD folks not be uniformed if they are there.
That was my thought too. I think them knowing that someone is there, but maybe not it being so upfront might be decent compromise.
That is definitely something that, we could probably, Gretchen could probably talk to Lieutenant Aguilar about, and some other people at Salem PD. I personally would vote in favor of having a Salem police presence, even if they weren't, even if they weren't able to dress down, and even if, just for policy reasons, they had to be there in full uniform. Most likely the group of officers that would be there to support the event would be the Community Action Unit, and having worked really closely with the Community Action Unit over the last couple of years, they're definitely pro-community and everything, and their goal really is the safety of some of those underserved populations that are oftentimes overlooked. I also look at it, not only are they going to be able to help keep the event safe should somebody decide to target such event, but also seeing that kind of like law enforcement presence might also be kind of kind of like that safety net for somebody, right? Like maybe seeing some of those officers there, right? Now that gives that person kind of that safety net in the community, that maybe if they're not okay with going to all of the officers, they see that one, they're able to be like, they're kind of able to draw the line, like, hey, that officer showed up, they were kind of in support and everything, of the Trans Day of Remembrance event and everything, like I feel comfortable talking to that person. And then that person, I think, kind of just bridges the gap into like the rest of kind of the department and everything, helps kind of build that comfort and familiarity to get people to trust law enforcement. And like our goal as a task force and everything really isn't to work against law enforcement and to kind of like have that divide of kind of us versus them. And I really see by having law enforcement inviting them to that and everything helps kind of narrow that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll echo what Robert is. I think not having security at this event is probably not an option, just given that it's a high target demographic, and who knows.
Okay. I think I definitely feel very similar. I know like police don't have a good history with the LGBTQ community, specifically the trans population. But I think at this point in kind of the climate, I think it might be important to have someone there to respond. Okay. So Gretchen, are you able to contact? Okay, perfect. And request plainclothes officers if possible.
Copy.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you. Let's see. Gretchen, I can't think of anything else for Trans Day of Remembrance.
I have a couple other questions to throw out, if I may. Last year, I was able to enlist the help of a colleague that I'm not able to enlist this year with a role that I was wondering if we could spread the word about a volunteer role. The person would be up in our booth, which is in the back of the auditorium, and would be operating the laptop to provide the slideshow. You have to kind of click at the timing with the readers. And then they also helped a little bit with adjusting lighting to go well with the slideshow. So I wondered if anyone sort of laptop technically minded would be up for that. So I wanted to throw that out into the universe in case we knew of a volunteer that might want to fill that role. The other role I wanted to check, Kelsey, and essentially confirm if you're available to be the MC for the event, or if we needed to plug that hole.
Yes, I am happy to be the MC. Like I said, I will be in state.
Awesome. Very good.
I don't want to volunteer someone, but Hope may be a good person for that if she's around for the slide person.
Thanks. Thanks. You might be right.
'Cause I know if I did it, I would probably end up having the computer erupt into flames or something like that inadvertently. So
Copy that. I'll check with her. I think that's a good idea.
Awesome. Great. What else, Gretchen?
Well, there'll be other volunteer roles for people to come and greet that night, and we can begin to fill those as it gets closer. And we have the save the date communication that's been sharing that Kelsey designed for us. Once we have confirmed the location and the time, we could talk about the time, then we can put out an actual like, hey, come to this event and get it on people's calendars. So maybe that's something else you'd want to verify is what time do you want the event to begin? It's so Monday evening, November 20th. I'm assuming evening. I don't mean to put that word in your mouth, but Monday, November 20th.
Just midday when most people are working. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Would 7 give folks time to get off work, have dinner?
How long did the event run last year?
Maybe we were shy of an hour, 45 to 50 minutes.
Oh, okay. So not too terribly long. Then I'd say like 7, would, work. I was thinking, either kind of like that 6:37, depending on, like how late it ran. Like if it ran super late, then I was gonna be like, maybe 7's a little too late of a start. But if it's roughly gonna take 60 minutes, then it's kind of that 7 o'clock.
will the mayor be joining us this year again?
Oh, of course, we should ask that question too. I'd want to begin with hearing what you all would like to see happen, and then would reach out at your request, or if you prefer to reach out directly. I've not asked yet, pending what you all would like, but happy to ask if you'd like me to.
I think
I would
so.
vote yes. I mean, I think it shows if our elected leaders are interested in speaking at events like this is how we generate the change in the community that we want to see. It's when people don't see our elected officials, either A, because they weren't invited, or because they turn it down, or what have you. It's not seeing them on stage, it's their absence that speaks louder than their presence. And so, if they're available to come and they're interested, it'd be great to see them there.
I agree.
Very good. I will invite the mayor and certainly all of the council too.
Yes.
But the mayor to make a couple of remarks. Okay.
Perfect. I'll make sure also to have an agenda. I don't know if I had that last year.
City manager was there too last year, if I remember correctly.
He did come. And I can invite him again. We did have a little bit of a run of show. Kelsey, I can find that and send it to you. I think it was something like the MC, in fact, I think you built a PowerPoint for it. The MC, and then I think maybe Mayor Hoy. And then
it was a beautiful PowerPoint too.
Yeah, it was. Kelsey, I
Yeah,
think
no, I
you
remember.
had a piece recorded that you shared. And then I think we rolled into the readers, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I'm sure I have it somewhere on my Canva. But I'll let you know if I cannot find it.
Okay, sounds good.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
everyone.
have a question about the evening.
Yeah.
So what do you need from me? We emailed about it briefly.
Yes.
So you want a pronunciation guide.
Yes.
So my first question with that is, do you want a general pronunciation guide, or do you want one for each name? Because there were a lot of names.
There's a lot of names.
I should be happy to do, but just wanted that.
Let's see. Let me look how many names we have right now. And obviously this will increase as names are submitted. But it's something like 100 and some.
Oh, that's not bad.
Oh, I lied to you.
Oh boy.
200 and I think 228 as of right now. I think, I don't want to single out names, but there are some names that are that most people are familiar with, like Nicole. And the specific request that we got was folks were unfamiliar with Spanish or Portuguese names. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, I'll just echo that feedback. One, I mentioned this to over email, Kelsey, but one, I mean, the volume of Spanish language names was significant, and it wasn't upsetting, that's not right, but it was noticeable that they were being mispronounced, and that was the majority of the names was just noticeable. It was just something that it was a takeaway from the event. I can do a couple things. I can do in each name. I can do that. And then there will be probably names that people will still need help pronouncing. So if people want to meet over Zoom, if like the presenters want to meet over Zoom once or twice, and they have after they've practiced the names and go, I really just don't know how to say this one, or I need to hear this one said. We'll be happy to, a couple hours, over the course of a couple of weeks, to help people pronounce those names. Portuguese pronunciation is different from Spanish, but I can help with that too. So that's my offer. I don't know if you need more or less than that or something different, but I don't really know what else to do, because there's just so many names that are Spanish language names, I mean.
Yeah, right now, and I would be interested in like researching more about this, but most of the people who were killed are Brazilian, so Portuguese. So I wonder if, like, kind of what are people reporting those more? Is there like that intersection of violence? I'd be interested in learning more about that myself. But back to your point, I think, I mean, if you feel like you have the capacity and the time to do every name, that would be, if you just like do one file, and then I can separate the names and put timestamps maybe on a Google Doc or something. I think that would be ideal. And I so appreciate you being willing to meet with folks after they have practiced and practiced and practiced, and then just like not getting it, because correct pronunciation of names is important and valid, and especially for an event like this.
Yeah, and it won't be perfect because they're not native Spanish speakers, native Portuguese speakers, but just to have a little more of to show that there was a lot of intention behind that particular thing, I think is important.
Well, Joaquin, would you like help in that space? I'm recalling a former member of the Human Rights Commission who might also have pronunciation skill, and I don't know if you'd like me to reach out and seek additional volunteers in this role, or if you feel good about what you've got.
Sure, help would be welcome.
Okay, I'll make a little inquiry to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gretchen. Yeah, if we could split so like each person is not doing 200 plus names. Okay, cool.
And
Thank you.
there are ways too we can do it where I'm sure some names repeat, and we, what I mean. So it's just we can figure it out. Or I can do 100 names that I think need the most. There are ways we can do it if it becomes really overwhelming. But
yeah.
I think the most helpful thing too will be in the weeks before, actually saying them out loud for people to hear and stuff would be important, because then people make their own comments or whatever, and they can. Anyways.
And I think last year we kind of started a bit late, so I will make sure to get readers' names like weeks in advance, because again, the the like cutoff date, the data collecting cutoff date is, I think, in August or September. So we should, let's see, or October 1st is October 1st to the last day of September. So we'll have time. And
Yeah.
if we need to add names, we need to add names.
Just out of curiosity, what is the data collecting entity? It's not us, is it?
No, so there is, oh, my cat is standing over the keyboard. So it's translivesmatter.info.
Okay.
So they collect it every year, and that's where I got them last year. They do, like, people submit them and they gather them. There's a couple like that we have to remove. Like, we don't include folks who died by suicide or overdoses, specifically violence. But yes, that's the organization that I use.
Okay. Okay. I have more questions. The reason we don't include people who die by suicide is.
Yeah, I had that question last year as well. I think, and Gretchen, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was kind of historically we hadn't. But I'm more than okay to add that. It's 34 additional names.
That's a good question. I think that was the origin of the event from the commission at the time, but I don't remember the details. Robert, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think we should add those names. I think not adding those names is, I don't know the right word for it, but you know, those individuals struggled, and while they might not have, you know, died as a direct result of violence, they died as a direct result of some emotional trauma they faced in their lives. And to not remember that at a Remembrance event, I think we're doing a complete disservice to those individuals.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and add those. Let's see. Other things about Trans Day of Remembrance that we're thinking of, questions, comments, ideas?
For outreach, we're doing what?
Good question. So we have done the save the date. So I will go ahead and update that with the time and then time and location. Last year we had posters printed and went around to different businesses and had those put up. So we'll be doing that again. So I need to make a poster.
I remember attendance last year was good. I mean, not every seat was packed, but I remember it being, people were there. So just curious what we were doing.
I believe you are correct. I think a missed opportunity last year, again, because on my part, like, we didn't start planning too far in advance, was advertising at schools in Salem, like colleges and universities. Like, we have Chemeketa, we have Willamette, we have Corbin, right? Could not think of that other school.
Yeah, Corbin is in Salem.
Corbin, yes. So, like, seeing if they can put up posters. I think that would be
Are we allowed to reach out to high schools?
I don't know.
I have one of the people I get to work with is Lori Shaw Caceres, who works with youth and young adults in Salem. And I already gave her the save the date for the social media that she does on all of her outreaches, but I can ask her that question because she spends a lot of time with the school district. And so she may have a pathway. If you like, I'd be happy to do that.
I just think that this event in particular would be something that maybe some high school principals have an appetite to sharing to their schools or something like that. Our teachers should have the ability to, I don't know.
I would echo what, Joaquin says. It's, getting that information out there to, youth in our community, show that, this is an area of importance and a topic of importance for the commission and for the city. And, I think it, serves as kind of, like that hope aspect for youth. And so by not, educating them that, like, hey, this is happening. If you want to show up, this is a safe place. If you do decide to show up, I think is huge. And, whether or not, we're able to share that and the schools are willing to share it, or we can just, like tuck it under the table and everything and give that information to as many teachers as possible so that they can, share it as they, as desired to their students.
Yeah. And even more than that, I mean, queer and trans youth are especially vulnerable to the things that we're talking about on that day, and having them there, or having the invitation open to them to an event of community and solidarity, I think is important, both as a statement from the city, but also just as to hold space for those young people who probably have a lot of interest, vested interest, maybe with some good experiences with these things.
I know our material also goes out to our listserv, for lack of a better word, our email group, which includes organizations like Rainbow Youth and the Teen, I don't know what it's called these days. I want to call it the Teen Action Center, or the teen part of Salem Public Library that has a group of teens. And I know they've been a source of attendance, I think, in the past. We'll make sure to get it to all those threads as well.
I'll also make sure that once we get the flyers and the actual publications, the approved publications, I can distro those out through, our youth programs as well. So I can get that out to, our home youth services division, which serves our, unsheltered or at risk of homeless youth in the community. So.
Yep. Well, I can't do that, but I am neighbors with the YA librarian at the library, the Salem Library. So maybe I can knock on her door.
Good.
Sorry for the questions, Kelsey.
Oh, don't apologize. No, like, these are important things for us to think about and to make this event better. So I appreciate it. I mean, you all are adding at least 5 things right now to my to-do list. Gosh. Did you all hear her?
The cat?
Yeah, she's very
Does
upset.
the cat have a name, Kelsey?
Yes, her name is Penny.
Penny. Penny makes wonderful appearances.
I was gone on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, so she's very upset and clinging.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so yes, if we can reach out to the schools, that would be swell. Gretchen, you're busy too. Let's see. Other things with the event. Oh, I forgot. I'm gonna also reach out to Salem Capital Pride to advertise to them and see if they are interested in helping at all. Because we now have a relationship with them. So that's great. Cool. Okay. Anything else before we move on to our next agenda item for Trans Day Remembrance? Okay. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback.
I do have one other thing.
Robert.
Have we printed off a bulk of these, at least the save the dates, the ones that are already out to be handed out at the Salem Pride event that's happening downtown this weekend?
Oh, you're so smart. No.
I'll go ahead. I will update that to include should we go ahead and say Laux?
I know.
I think we could just say the date just in case something happens, but at least, like people are getting it on their calendar to, like at least block off some of that time. But I think not, like at least getting a save the date out there. I think we're missing a big, like marketing audience. I hate to say the word marketing, but, getting the word out there to people even there have an interest to attend.
Yeah. And I should be able to pin down the location tomorrow morning, Kelsey. So if you did have time to update it, including like Laux Auditorium, 7 p.m., I think that's great. I'd be able to affirm that in the morning.
Okay, perfect.
And that should be enough time to get prints.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I can do that. It's ready. It's basically ready to go. So just holler. And Robert, I don't know if you purposely did this, but guess what? That is a perfect segue into our next bullet point.
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
It wasn't on purpose. I didn't even look at the agenda. So.
Next bullet point is Capitol Pride is on Saturday. It's going to be at the Riverfront Park from 10 to 6. We are tabling alongside the library, and then we'll have Human Rights Commission representation from noon to 6. So Kathy will be there, and then I will be taking over. So one, if you're there, swing by, say hi. But two, go to Pride. Should be a blast. We'll bring the save the dates, so that will be great. Gretchen, can I send you? Oh, can we also have some of those info posters that I made?
We'll have the posters. Whether we have the little cards is a good question. I followed up today, and they were a little bit behind, but are hoping. So hopefully we'll have those little cards too.
Okay, posters would be great, but yeah, the cards would be super. Awesome. Yay. Anything else with Capitol Pride? I know that they are still looking for volunteers, so if anyone is able or would be interested in volunteering, you can probably connect with them on their social media. Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we move to our last agenda item? Okay. Member remarks and announcements.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's really a remark or an announcement, but you had mentioned earlier when we were talking about law enforcement that there's kind of this this feeling of support, like not being supportive, like law enforcement not being supportive in anything, specifically of the trans community here in Salem. And obviously we're not going to tackle that tonight, but if there is kind of that concern or anything, like that divide between law enforcement and, the trans community or the LGBT population as a whole, I think that's something I think that we need to, obviously look at addressing. And, I think, like chatting with our law enforcement partners and seeing, like how can we work together to, close that gap. And so kind of just like a note piece to add to kind of like in a future, discussion item.
Yeah, absolutely. I was generally speaking about not just like Salem PD, but throughout the history of the country.
But still, I mean, it is something that we
yes.
can, bring up though, and, even just, talk to them and, you can kind of just get, like that affirmation from, like Salem PD that like, hey, hey, we're in support of, the LGBT community and all the task force and all the work that the Human Rights Commission is doing. Just kind of, like having those conversations and just seeing, like where it is that, if there are, shortcomings, how to make them better. One of the things that I did when I stepped into this role was really try to close that gap between homeless services providers and law enforcement. And, that initial discussion resulted in a meeting now that occurs monthly with 35 members from over 20 service providers in Salem to like actually sit down at the table with Salem PD to discuss trends that are happening and how to make those different. And so, you know, if there are concerns regarding law enforcement and the LGBTQ community, you know, exploring an avenue like that, you know, what changes can we collaboratively make? You know, I think is a worthwhile endeavor for this task force.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of info in our the survey. So kind of like digging into that. Absolutely. Cool.
I can add on to that just for history's sake. One of the early projects of this task force came out of a conversation from some community members who expressed some hesitancy to report bias crime in the trans community, just in the various gender identity communities. And that led this task force to a discussion, which led to working with CC Media to tape a video that interviewed local community members from different gender identities, speaking about respectful interactions in police situations, whether you might be a survivor or a victim of a crime and you're calling in to report, and what you might need to feel comfortable, or if you're a suspect of a situation, and kind of breaking down some different aspects of the communication experience. So we had local community members answering questions and speaking to what was important to them. And then CC Media helped build it into a video that was an in-service training for Salem Police Department that all the sworn officers watched and was able to benefit from as a training tool. That's maybe an example of a project that can come out of conversations, but that was quite a few years ago, like way pre-COVID. I want to say like 2014, 2015 is when we worked on that.
Yeah, I would love to see if, you know, that's something that we can, you know, explore again. You know, lots changed in those years. And that would be something interesting to explore and see how we can, you know, take that video and everything, get more recent examples and, you know, get that published out there. And, you know, I know this is specifically just the city of Salem, but there are unincorporated areas that are patrolled by the Marion County Sheriff's Office. And, you know, I think, you know, even if we can make that, you know, it is a video, make that available to the Sheriff's Office, because, you know, a lot of Salem residents don't understand the distinction between what is the incorporated pieces of Salem and what are the unincorporated pieces. And so like those areas that are patrolled, you know, along Lancaster, everyone thinks it's Salem, but it's patrolled by a different agency. You know, making some of those tools that we're coming up with available to them. Sorry to add more stuff to your plate, Gretchen, but you have my email and phone number. So
no, it's all good. It's all good. No, that's all making sense to me. We locked the video down last time at the request of the participants that it was specifically for the law enforcement audiences as opposed to for general public consumption. But I think we did have permission at the time to share with the sheriff's offices in both Marion and Polk County. I'm not remembering Polk as clearly as Marion, but yeah, I think it's an excellent point that we could explore if the group would like to do something like that again. It was a really interesting project. I remember that.
Yeah, I think maybe after Trans Day of Remembrance, we can kind of make that our focus. But I think it's very worthwhile.
I'm with you. We can get through the Trans Day of Remembrance, get through one big project, and we can tackle another.
Absolutely exciting. I love this energy. Get stuff done. Anything else?
I have a member comment. Everyone should join my meeting in 7 minutes or whatever to talk about the report to council.
Yeah. Gretchen, I forgot to ask, can you send me that link?
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to.
Can you send it to me too, Gretchen?
Sure. Look at that.
Oh, there we go.
You'll at least have 2. You'll at least have 3 attendees.
I thought everyone was invited, Gretchen.
I hopefully you all got it. I sent it to the Human Rights Commission. Robert, I hope I didn't forget you. If I did forget you, I apologize.
It probably also did get buried in my what is my Outlook inbox.
But yeah, like I know
The unorganized mess.
Oh, bless your heart. I know replied that she's coming, so I feel like that.
And Hamadi said he was coming.
Yeah, although I noticed an email came in from Hamadi during our meeting, so I need to go see what that might say. But that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have found the email. Yay.
Good.
So I will be there.
Robert, I'll send it to you right after we get off.
And then I have one thing. I said earlier that we had 2 readers for Trans Day of Remembrance. We have 3. So, but still recruiting. So, okay.
That's good.
Any other last minute items? We'll give folks a couple minutes of a break. Okie dokie. All right. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe, and well, I will see folks in 7 minutes, but I will. Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Good night.